All right, man, peace. So first off, let me congratulate Mr. Terrence Crawford for his superlative performance in last night's bout against Jeff Horn, who was a game champion. He was a game fighter, but he did come up short because the talent disparity was just far too vast for him to be able to overcome against Terrence Crawford. And that bout last night reminded me of two of Floyd Mayweather's bouts in combination. That being Floyd's fight against Ricky Hatton, which was also mentioned by Timothy Bradley during the broadcast, but also Floyd's initial fight at 140 pounds against Arturo Gatti. And the reason why I say that is because it was very convenient for Terrence Crawford to have his initial fight in a new weight class against a fighter who, though he was champion, was just so limited. There was no way that Jeff Horn was going to beat Terrence Crawford. It was obvious to me in round one, right after the opening bell, when I saw Terrence Crawford moving around the ring with the same amount of speed and overall dexterity that he'd had at 135 and 140. It's very obvious that his move to 147 was a natural move. Jeff Horn was completely confused in there. He could not stop Terrence Crawford's right jab. He couldn't stop those straight left hands that he was throwing to Jeff Horn's body, especially to the solar plexus. You could see that they were weakening Jeff Horn as the fight was going along. Every time Jeff tried to bum rush Terrence, he would get clinched. Terrence showed that he was the stronger fighter in the clinch. He was able to pretty much push Jeff Horn around. I don't know if there were some issues with Jeff Horn's conditioning in regards to his ability to recover from the previous day's weigh-in, or if just Terrence Crawford was just that damn strong. Probably a mixture of both. But none of the tricks that Jeff Horn was able to execute successfully against Manny Pacquiao had even the remotest chance of working against Terrence Crawford. Because it's very obvious that Terrence Crawford is just special. He is an exemplary fighter. Are there flaws in his game? Of course, there are flaws in every fighter's game. Some of the things that worked against Jeff Horn are not going to work against the better fighters in the division. But that's a good thing because it's going to give us a chance to see exactly how many tools Mr. Terrence Crawford has in his bag. Number one, oftentimes I notice with Terrence that he holds his head up too high. His chin is in the air. He likes to hold his hands down. Every once in a while, he'll put his gloves up by his face, but for the most part, he keeps his hands down. Now, there have been many great fighters in the history of boxing who would hold their hands down by their chest or by their waist. Sometimes it's because they have trouble holding their hands up for the entire fight. And sometimes it's because they're executing a maneuver that Bruce Lee used to call attack by drawing, meaning they would try to entice their opponent to shoot a shot at their chin or at their face because the opponent might think that they're open for that type of shot so that they can counter. Floyd Mayweather oftentimes would hold his gloves down by his waist to try to entice his opponent to hit him in his face, and then he will counter. Ali would do the same thing in the 60s. Now, Joe Frazier was very fond of saying that Muhammad Ali could not keep his hands up. That's why he would always hold his hands down. And he looked at that as a weakness in Ali's style. And that maneuver can be capitalized upon by another fighter that is equally as fast or as skillful. So I don't expect Terrence to do that when he fights a Keith Thurman. Should he fight an Errol Spence, he's going to have to do something different. And he is going to have to protect his chin a little bit better and keep it tucked in. But other than that, there's not really much to criticize. The brother was extraordinary. He broke his man down sequentially. And you could see Jeff Horn round by round. He was totally confused. He had nowhere to go, nowhere to run. It truly got to the point in the fight where Terrence Crawford was laughing, smiling, joking, clinching Jeff Horn, looking out into the crowd, looking at Jeff Horn's corner. The things that most transcendent fighters start to do in a bout where it's obvious to them that they're on a completely different level from their opponent. Floyd Mayweather used to do it. Muhammad Ali used to do it. Roy Jones, Sugar Ray Leonard, they all used to do it. Sugar Ray Robinson used to do it. There's a bout that Sugar Ray Robinson had. It was just an exhibition bout. It's on YouTube. I think from like 1950, where he was clowning around in the ring against another fighter. He was doing the shuffle even before Muhammad Ali did it. holding his hands down, shaking his head in front of the guy. And it was very obvious that he was doing it because he knew that that fighter had no chance of hurting him whatsoever. So the question now is, what's next for Jeff Horn? What's next for Terrence Crawford? Well, Jeff Horn has a lot of other options. He has the Pacquiao rematch out there. That's a good fight for both fighters, especially at this stage in Pacquiao's career. We also have the specter of Keith Thurman, who seems to be having some issues with his management company, his deal with Al Heyman. Keith Thurman was so desperate to avoid Errol Spence that he's trying to find a way out of his promotional/managerial deal with Al Heyman. We'll see what comes of that. It's a possibility that Keith may end up fighting Jeff Horn as his first fight on his comeback trail. He does have the WBA strap. And then after that, maybe he'll fight Terrence Crawford. We know that Keith Thurman is not fighting another champion in his first fight back. We know that. But he does still have the WBA strap. So clearly he's still an active fighter. For Terrence Crawford, well, I'm sure that he's going to be paying very close attention to Errol Spence's bout next week against Ocampo. I expect Errol Spence to stop Ocampo, most likely around 6 or 7. But I'll wait until next week to make my official prediction on that fight. I may go on YouTube and see if I can find any bouts of Ocampo just to get a greater understanding of what he can do and what he can't do. Then, of course, we have the Sean Porter versus Danny Garcia fight on the horizon. That is a major bout. That is a championship level match. It's going to be a great fight, no doubt about it, because what we have with Sean Porter and Danny Garcia, we have two very good to borderline great fighters who are flawed. And those always make for the best matchups, the best fights. I'll be doing my prediction on that fight right around the time that it's about to transpire. We'll see what happens. That bout can go either way. The winner of that fight will end up fighting Mr. Errol Spence, because the Sean Porter versus Danny Garcia fight will be for the WBC strap, which is the preeminent belt in boxing. So whoever wins the Sean Porter versus Danny Garcia fight will get Errol Spence, because I'm going to presume that Errol Spence will beat Ocampo. And of course, when Errol Spence does fight either Danny Garcia or Sean Porter, that is going to be a great fight as well. I expect Errol Spence, if he were to fight Sean Porter, for that fight to end quicker than Danny Garcia, because Garcia will most likely try to move and hold against Errol Spence than Sean Porter would. I see Sean Porter going out on his shield against Errol Spence. But I'm not going to make too many detailed early predictions. And then hopefully that will set up the mega bout between Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford, in which we're going to learn a lot about both fighters in that fight. And the Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence fight, when it does come, it's going to be what boxing needs. They need mega fights between two highly skilled craftsmen in their prime. That's what boxing needs right now. But anyway, once again, congratulations to Mr. Terrence Crawford. It was an exemplary. It was a superlative performance. It's what I expected. I was just one round off in my prediction, but it pretty much went how I thought it was going to go. Terrence Crawford is a great body puncher. He's very confident in what he does. He pretty much is comfortable in every aspect of pugilism, whether he's against the ropes, middle of the ring, fighting on the outside, fighting on the inside, right hand lead, left hand lead, orthodox, southpaw. Very comfortable. So congratulations to the brother. Peace.